Hi guys, and welcome to Modded Mark. Once again, you join us here in the garage with my beloved M140i behind me. So I thought today we'd just go through the mods list again, like in the previous video, but in a little bit more detail on how I sourced them, and maybe some tips and advice on how to go about modding your car on a budget. Really, everything I've done on this build has been with budget in mind, whether that's been on forums or eBay or Facebook Marketplace. So yeah, as I said, it's 480 brake. So I used boot mod for this to be mapped, stage 2 plus, and I got my boot mod license second hand. So what that means is basically someone's bought the original license, flashed it on their car, but with boot mod you get the added bonus of being able to resell the license once. So I bought this for, I think it was £200, and you get an activation key once they've taken it off of their car. Boot mod then send them an activation key, which then I purchased. I then can't, the only negative is that I can't sell it on from there. Whereas MHD, you can buy a license or a super license, but that stays with the car, you cannot resell it. So that's sort of the pros of buying boot mod, really. You can recoup some of the money back from the original purchase. From the two that I've had, because I've had a previous M140, I've had MHD before, and to be honest, I prefer it slightly. I think the map is a little bit better, just a bit smoother, I would say. Power wise, maybe a tiny bit more, but I don't know, that's my butt dyno talking there. But the main thing for me is just the user interface on the app. I think with boot mod you have to sort of change all of your settings that you want to change, i.e. burbles and the duration and that, but then you have to save it and sort of download it, and then from there flash it. Whereas MHD, you can change it and then flash it. You don't need to sort of do that extra step. And I just think the interface is a little bit more simplified as well. But again, equally very, very good. I haven't had any experience with MG Flasher. What I have heard is that MG Flasher has potentially a little bit more power on the dyno figures between all three. But again, I've not had that experience. And I found that boot mod license on the M140i owners forum on Facebook, which is a really good forum, by the way. The XHP, so it's got stage 3 XHP gearbox map. I sourced that direct, and I did that myself. You can obviously go to Define Coding and people like that, or Offspray, or any sort of performance garage will flash it for you. I've done it before on the previous one, sort of cut out the middleman and just did it myself, and then I can configure it as much as I want as well. So you can change all sorts of things on there, which we won't go into detail on. But and again, for those settings, I've messed around with them before, and I've also seen a lot of people on the M140i forum on Facebook give us sort of a heads up on what they've done, and sort of I've played around with their configuration and found sort of a happy medium of what I think is best for my driving experiences, daily driving, etc. Because that can vary massively on whether you're doing drag racing or track driving or just fast road use like mine. So yeah, I went direct for that. Probably save a few pennies compared to going to a dealer, specialist garage, and you also get the sort of configuration as much as you want. Whereas obviously if you go to a garage, it's probably a once flash, whatever setting they choose, and then that's it. The thing for those is though that if you do it yourself, you're going to need to get like an OBD port flasher. It's like an adapter, is the word I'm looking for there, and then Bluetooth that from your phone. They're not expensive. You can get MHD flasher. They do a universal one now as well, but To be honest, I just went online. I found one on Amazon for like £20 instead of £50-60, and it works just as well. To achieve that, I got a TU high pressure fuel pump. Again, I sourced that brand new, but that was on the M140i forum. You can go to places like Performance M, they'll do a good deal on a brand new TU pump. But again, I think £200 at the time was a very good price compared to most garages. Osprey turbo. So I've got the turbo elbow, which is a little bit more free flowing. I've got I think it's the V2 pipe. So that gets rid of all the sort of the resonators, gives it a little bit more sound. Again, gives it a bit more free flowing sort of breathing. And then I've just added a Osprey uprated panel filter in the standard airbox. I just wanted to, on this one build, I wanted to go for more of an OEM plus look. On the previous build, I had the full Osprey intake, not the front mount one, but just the full intake. Very, very good. Does the same job, but yeah, that's what I went for. And I sourced this for £120 second hand on the M140i forum. And then the uprated panel filter was brand new, obviously, and that was straight direct from Osprey. Just be careful, I'll touch on that. ITG, I believe, are a very good filter company, but which I've used in the past on Minis and things like that. But from my experience and from others, I've felt that they coat it in like an oil, and that can sort of disperse and go into sort of the turbo area, I believe. Don't quote me on that, I'm not mechanically minded. But so I've gone for a dry filter this time, and I think from now on that's what I'm going to go, because I don't want oil going anywhere really, other than in my engine. Again, to achieve that power, I've had to you either go for a sports cat, which I went for the Osprey 5-inch super sports cat, I believe it was, on my previous build, and very, very good, lovely sound. I'll put some passed the MOT fine, first year. Second year was starting to struggle a little bit. You need to get it really, really hot. So my advice there would be, if you are going for a sports cat, unless it's a Wagner, which is a very expensive cat, but it kind of guarantees it for many, many years. If I was going to go for a sports cat again, I would drive it, get it really hot, and try and get it on the MOT ramp as quick as possible, really, just to pass that emissions test. But this time round, I've gone for a D-cap. I've got an SLM D-cap, 5-inch again. Sounds really nice, really deep. And again, I bought that off the Facebook forum for £150. So, these are all little savings that start to add up. This car already had Cobra mid-pipes and the Res Delete. This one doesn't have an OPF because it's 2017. So I didn't need to purchase that. And I've got the stock back box as well. And I think that the D-cap or sports cat, mid-pipes, which I've had on both, and stock back box, which I've had on both, not the M Performance, I think it's a really nice sound. Unless I'm going to go for a lot of power, I'm just going to stick with this configuration of exhaust build, because, as I say, the note's very, very good. It doesn't cause me any issues, no rattling. I get to keep the stock actuators for the valves, for quiet mode. And as I say, the only time I'd want to go for a different exhaust is if I really need to get as much power out as possible, stop that sort of the back pressure on the exhaust system. I think it's a 3.5-inch system would be needed for that. Again, I'm sure it sounds lovely, but just haven't got the capacity funds wise for that. And then I've got the M Performance style carbon tips at the back. Now, everyone, as far as I know, they all come from China. So I bought mine direct from AliExpress, and they were, let's have a look, they were, £57 from AliExpress. and all I've done there is just ceramic coat them on top, not with nothing, just out of a Geon can coat, I believe. But I think it just helps keep the lacquer around the carbon a bit better, the clear coat, because they can perish. And mine have been perfect on both sets so far, and I'm about a year in on this set. So yeah, £57. I think most companies, maybe R44 and Auto ID and that, they're probably more around the £100 mark. So again, a little saving there. What else? Handling wise, my car's on the OEM BMW adaptive suspension. So in comfort mode, it's a little bit softer. I can definitely feel the difference. I had normal suspension, non-adaptive, in my previous one on lowering springs, and this definitely feels a little bit better than that setup. And then I went to B8s and lowering springs on the old setup, and that was a much better ride compared to this. Just when you're pushing on, the dampening effect and that, the rebound, just better. But then I also had uprated anti-roll bars, etc. as well, so take that with a pinch of salt. So with this setup, I've got, as I say, the adaptive suspension, but I've got Falkland lowering springs, 25mm all round. Again, they came on the car when I purchased it. The wheels, I've gone for the sort of M2 competition. I think M3, M4 maybe have it as well as the 763M satin black wheels, 18-inch. I purchased them through Facebook Marketplace for £510 delivered. So that was a really cheap price at the time. I think they're around about £550 now, which is still very good. And the wheels, they're definitely lighter. So they've got the M Performance stamping on them. They're definitely a few kilos lighter than the stock wheels that I had. And just a really nice wheel, good quality. Again, I've had a year out of these so far, no buckling, no nothing like that. I haven't curbed them or anything like that. But I've heard no horror stories either. So they are a good quality, and they're a very, very good price. I definitely recommend them if you're looking for that sort of OEM plus look. They do them, I think they do them in like a chrome now, which is lovely. I'm tempted to get a set of those as a second set of wheels with like a summer sticky tyre. They do them in like a gold as well. But yeah, £510, can't grumble that, very, very good. And with my setup, I don't need any spacers, which is great. And they're wrapped around with Vredestein Ultrac Pro tyres. What have I got on those? I've got 235 at the front, 235/40, and 255/35 at the rear. So I've got a little bit wider than the sort of OEM tyre, just for a little bit more tread and grip. And the Vredesteins, now I did a lot of research on tyres, and again I'm always pinching pounds here and pennies, and compared to the Michelin PS4 and PS5, which I've had on previous cars, I don't push it too hard, but I've not really noticed a difference in ride quality and in noise, and the reviews online are actually very, very good for them in terms of YouTube reviews, and they're a hell of a lot cheaper. I think all round I got 4 wheels, 4 tyres. Bear in mind they're a bit wider. I think I got it for all fitted for under £400. I was going to go for the Accelera 651s, I believe. They're sort of a semi-slick tyre. They're very, very good value. Again, heard very good reviews on those, both on the forum and on YouTube. But I was just a little bit worried in the rain. But now I've decided to I've got a secondary runaround car. This is kind of for best and sunny days, no wet wintry days. I probably would have gone for them knowing that. But maybe if I get a second set of wheels, I'll go for the Accelera 651s, because they're a very cheap tyre for what they are, and the performance side of things, they might be a little bit better. But I've got no grumbles with those at all. They came with Goodrich asymmetric 6s on them, I believe, which I'd never driven before, but for me, they didn't impress me. But I can't really say that too much because the tread on them were quite low. So I think once they're low, they've basically gone off, and you can't really expect too much performance in them. What else? So I've got Brembo 2-piece drilled groove discs on the front. I'm not sure what millimeter they're, how diameter they are, because they came with the car. And I've got stock OEM rear discs at the back. I've obviously painted the calipers red, just bought some, heat resistant caliper paint, and then I've got the decals with the M logo on eBay. They've also got the M3, M4 brake pads, so they're made by Techstar, which is the OEM pad for M3s and M4s. I have had DS 2500s, or however you want to say it, in my old car, which were really good. The bike was really, really good. But again, I'm not really tracking it or anything like that at the minute, so I want to get as much value as possible. And I got a whole set, front and rear, replaced for £50 on eBay, just under £50, which is crazy. My initial thoughts on them, I haven't had them that long on the car, haven't really pushed it too much, but the initial bite, if anything, is slightly better when it's cold. I think you might need a bit of heat more in the pads with the DS 2500s. With the Techstar, the bite's a bit better from the get-go. Again, if I was doing track laps, these would probably, get too hot or whatever and wear out and whatnot. But for everyday use, it's a no-brainer. I can always then swap them out if I do go to a track and use an upgraded pad. But for £50, yeah, I'm more than happy with how they brake. I've upgraded the brake lines as well now, so I went to M-Tech braided lines. Normally on the forums, everything's been sort of recommended to me as Goodridge or Hell lines, which everyone knows and familiar with. But at the time they were like 130, 140 pounds, I believe. And the M-Tech ones, which do exactly the same job, I purchased them for £73.50. Now that was 6 months ago, and now the price I looked the other day is like 125. So I don't know whether there's a saving to be had there still, but at the time, again, it saved me easily £50. And then I've got ATE Type 200 brake fluid. Oh, my roof's just about to come off. And I bought 2 litres of that for £30. And that's, for me, that's probably just as good as I think it's the Motul version, 600 or 6000. Don't quote me on that. Moving on to the exterior. So my car's got a KBS front splitter. That came with the car, so I can't comment on how much that was. The diffuser also came on the car. I'm not sure, that's like a Maxton copy or a KSB copy. And then I've got the Maxton or KSB style side skirts. And I think all of those, to be honest, little plug here to a Facebook seller who I've bought before, and I purchased the side skirts from him at this time round, was Liam O'Mara from Facebook on the M140 owners forum. So he sells a lot of, I don't know whether it is KSB or Maxton or a hybrid of the two, but he sells a lot of the low-line kits for the M140i's, M135i's, etc. And he does a very good price, good service, can really vouch for him, quick delivery, yeah. So, and I think, it's definitely probably 10-15% cheaper than KSB or Maxton. And I had a bad experience with Maxton, so I vowed not to buy Maxton anymore. Real carbon wing mirrors. Again, they were on the car, so I can't comment on how much they were. Carbon spoiler was also on the car. M140i, the black badge at the back here. So I think that, again, a bit like all these middlemen, they all come from China. I'm sure they do. I think you can get, I don't know whether you can get a black one OEM from BMW, but I sourced that one from AliExpress. Now, these do fade. I have seen them fade, but all I've done is, they're so cheap, just buy another one in 6 months and a year. Again, I've had that on a year, and it's absolutely still immaculate, nice full colour. The reds and the blues haven't faded, the black hasn't faded. And I think the cheat there maybe is I've just ceramic coated it again. So maybe it just protects it from that UV and just the elements really. And it was a few quid on AliExpress. The canards at the front, they normally come in like I think it's a Ferris grey or something like that. I just sanded them back, sort of keyed them up a little bit, sanded them, primered them, any gloss back paint or whatever paint you want, and then 2K lacquer, a couple of coats of that, and they've been fine. You can purchase these in black already, again probably from China, but they are quite a lot of money. Everywhere I've looked for them before I painted them, they were quite pricey. So I just recommend painting them or wrapping them. The car itself is also, I forgot to say that, I do a bit of detailing on the side as a sort of third job, shall we say. So it's been full paint corrected. It's got Geon Can Coat Evo on it, a couple of coats of that, and then a really good topper, sort of sacrificial layer. It's got Sonax BSD, which supposedly is a quick detailer, but if you use it neat, it's a bit of a beast. That will last 6 months on its own. A lot of my detailing now, I use actually Fuso wax from Soft 99, which is a beast as well. That can last 12 months, depending on how much usage you have and what washes you have on the car itself. But it's brilliant, and it's just a bit more forgiving than the ceramic coating. But anyway, I'm digressing. Interior wise, I've got Apple CarPlay, which it didn't come with. Well, I don't think any of the cars came with Apple CarPlay. I've got ProNav as standard, but I just, on my last one I had it as well. I just thought, I like the interface with Apple CarPlay and just the use of Waze and WhatsApp. It's just useful, even if you don't use it daily. I use Waze a lot, but it's just for the cost. You can get people to, like Define Coding, you can get those sort of people to come in and they will do it online for you, or you can take it to them, obviously. And I think they charge, I don't know, between 150 and 200 pounds, I'm guessing. But I just bought the Wi-Fi antenna, which you will need, no matter who you are. You're going to need the Wi-Fi antenna, which I got from eBay for just under £10. You have to take out your stereo, not the actual head unit itself, not the screen, the head unit you need to take out, which is easy enough on those. They're really simple to take out. Get to the back of the stereo, screw the Wi-Fi antenna in, tuck it down there, and then I paid £30 on eBay for someone to come over onto my laptop and do it wirelessly. Again, you're going to need sort of, I'll just show you here. I'm not sure whether you can do it through just an OBD wireless, or I think you can get through one of these, like a DCAN. I think it's called a DCAN adapter, and then obviously adapter to USB from there, or an Ethernet cable. I can't even think of it now, but that's what I used. Again, you can pick both of those things up for under, I don't know, 20, 30 quid. And obviously I've used that multiple times, so it's well worth getting one anyway. So yeah, they come in online, they do it remotely, and all in all that cost me £40. Or I think obviously BMW do it and they'll charge you a fortune also. My steering wheel, so I always go for whatever car I go with, I always get a new steering wheel. So, and I always go to Royal steering wheel for my custom Alcantara with tricolour stitching. I vary it sometimes, but I want to go for an OEM look, OEM plus look. So I just think that looks plain, simple, quite classy. The only thing with Alcantara, just be aware of obviously the oils and greases in your hand. They can build up in time, and it can look like the wheel's gone and you need a new one. But if you keep on top of it, I just use a very sort of light, multi-purpose degreaser, a Surfix HD, watered down, very light sort of brush, and then just a nice soft microfiber to clean it, I don't know, once a month. And even a little bit of fabric softener every now and then, just keeps it fresh. Otherwise, if you let it go too long, it might be too hard to get back. So this car was a 2017 late, but it was a pre-LCI still, which meant no OPF, I believe, which was good. But it also meant the old dials cluster set, and some people love that, but I missed my old version, which was LCI, with kind of the half and half digital cluster. So I thought this time round I'll go for, I didn't know at the time, but I did some research, and you can get the M2 LCI digital instrument cluster, and it does fit straight into there. It is plug and play to a point, but you need coding with it. So I purchased the cluster itself. I got a good deal there, £180, and then I got a guy called Aaron O'Neill, who's on the forum, but also on Instagram. I bought the cluster for 180 on eBay, which I think was a bit of a steal at the time, because they can vary massively. The condition of it was good, just needed a bit of a clean. And then he charged 185 to virginize it, because it needs to be virginized, and then coded from there for 185 pounds, which I think all in all, it transforms. For me, it just feels a lot more modern in there, and the dials themselves, it's got the M logo, the M Performance logo in the middle of the one of the clusters. It's got the red needles, which I really like, and it's a little bit more digitalized and white. It's not the orange. I don't like that. But each to their own. The paddle shifters, they're magnetic, so they feel very race car like. A little bit more to them. I got them from AliExpress. And
race car.
Again, I think they're about 120 from a seller, but I bought them for £60, and they're great. Definitely recommend them. The pedals, so I got these from AliExpress. They were £10. Again, great buy. I think these companies sell them for more than £30. What else have I got? Alcantara and dry carbon M Performance dash trim. Oh yeah, that was on the passenger side. That was already on there, so I can't say how much that was. But the guy that I'm going to recommend, who I've used for a lot of the dry carbon stuff in both builds, he definitely does the same as that. But I think that's an OEM trim, which is a lot of money. I know BMW charge a fortune for their M Performance carbon pack. It's crazy. So I've got 4 dry carbon door handles. They were on the car. Dry carbon gear surround with Alcantara around it. That was on the car. Dry carbon gear lever. Dry carbon steering wheel trim. And the centre console were all from a company literally just down the road in Bognor from me. JW Composite. Really nice guy. I say he's done quite a lot for me. He does some really awesome stuff. I want to get the stereo surround done next, and I would say he's probably about, I don't know, half the price of BMW's OEM dry carbon open pore, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so give him a follow on Instagram. Yeah, he does some really cool stuff, and I think he's working for like race car stuff now, like GT4. I see a lot of his Insta, he's doing away, and he's always on track and stuff like that. So yeah, and the dry carbon handbrake lever with Alcantara, that one I actually sourced on AliExpress, and that was £41. What I've also done in there, which I'll input, is I've got ambient lighting. So a bit like all the Mercedes, I think it's class, but some people think it's chavvy. You know, all the modern cars now, Audis, but certainly the Mercedes, they've got like this LED strips all around sort of the dash line and in the door cards. And BMW, I think they miss a trick here, or whether it was just the age of the car at the time. So I've gone for the ambient lighting in there, did it myself. Again, you can pay people to do that. I think it ranges between, say, £200 and £400, depending on how much lighting you want in there, whether it's in the footwells, which I've gone for, whether it's down the sort of centre console, in the door cards. You can get it in the sort of door card bins. You can get it in the stereo surrounds. I've just gone for this time round. I've gone for footwells, 4 door cards, dash, and centre console. But I did it all myself. So the actual kit cost me £46. I've got a little bit of electrical sort of connectors and that, pennies. So yeah, I think a nice upgrade. And there's so many configurations. You have whatever colour you want, how bright you want, different sort of patterns and flashing. It's pretty mega actually. And then the other lighting that I've gone for was the so like the puddle lights when you open up the door. I've had 2 sets of these. The first set I bought from AliExpress and they were like £7, and they did a job for a couple of months, but then they faded. So again, I did some research. There's a company in America that sell them for like 110 quid. So I did some research. I saw that the actual the projector was HD, so they were a bit more pricey. They were £17 from AliExpress. But yeah, for now they've been on the car for 4 months. Yeah, 4 months, and still going strong, as bright as the first day. So yeah, I think they are an upgrade from the ones that I previously purchased. Going back to that lighting, on my last one I did starlights, which I've done in a number of builds, my Audi TTS, a couple of my Minis, and a few other cars for like family, friends and that. And at the time I loved it. Again, you can figure out all sorts of stuff with the actual lighting choices, but I just think for this one it was just too much. And then still on the exterior, the mesh, so these are susceptible to stones getting into like the radiator, and I think it's the oil cooler, I think it's the oil cooler, or another auxiliary rad of some description. So yeah, I was a little bit worried about this. Luckily my other car hadn't done it, and this hadn't been done yet. So I took the bumper off. Bumper's really easy to get off. I think it was 2 screws on either side, and then 5 or 6 screws underneath. And I got the black mesh from eBay for £8.50, and then just some black hot glue sticks with obviously a hot glue gun. Just take your time with it. Quite easy to cut with scissors. Yeah, it probably took me 2-3 hours max. And I prefer the look of it as well. It's as long as you go for the black stuff, obviously, that blends in with the actual grills itself. Just gives me peace of mind now that, you know, any sort of stone isn't going to pierce the radiator. Engine bay. So we've got like a dress-up kit. I wouldn't say kit, but we've got M6 bolts, and I bought 20 of those, and M8 bolts. I bought 10 of those. So they've got like so they're the actual hex bolts, so they're not going to perish or rust. And then we've got like aluminium caps, anodized, I think that's the word, anodized, coloured caps. So I went for black, but again, you can get a whole host of colours. In fact, I think I did go for black, but I also went for, you can see those, I went for like a red as well, because I'm going for a sort of silver, black and red theme. But when I put them on there, I just preferred the black. So yeah, and so 20 of those, 10 of those, total of £20. There's a company in the States that do a full dress kit, something Star I believe it's called, if I remember off the top of my head. Again, it was silly money, like 100 and something quid, and for some bolts, it's nuts. I think I just did a little bit of research, found out the bolt size. You know, it's probably not got as many bolts as what that dress-up kit that they sell, but it's enough for me. You can see most of it. And then I got the washer fluid cap is like a blue. I just don't like it. It's very cheap and tacky looking in my opinion. So I just got a black one from AliExpress, and it was under £1. So again, I kept the blue one just in case, but it fits fine. It's exactly the same, just in black. Just blends in with the whole engine bay a bit better. And the engine cover I did myself. Glacier silver, so it's an OEM colour, body match colour. Oh great, I've got a little leak there. Let's not doing anything. Oh well, that's going to be annoying. Yeah, sanded it down, primed it, body colour paint, and then 2K lacquer. And then, oh, that's sort of the last thing was, this is more of a maintenance thing, or an issue that happens. So if you've ever hear like a grinding, whirling noise under sort of your centre console or armrest, when you're loading the car, when it's squatting, that is your handbrake cable hitting, I think it's the prop, I believe, scraping, because your handbrake cable clip that keeps the cable up has snapped the two prongs, so then it sags down basically and then drags. The solution to this is, again, get a BMW OEM clip, which is like £17 from BMW Direct, and then obviously have that fitted or fit it yourself. What I did was, but the problem with that is, going back to that, is if it's snapped once, it's going to snap again at some point in its life cycle. So I went for a more permanent solution, which was a metal clip from AliExpress. It was £2.85, and then I fitted it myself. Now, for those that aren't DIY minded, it's probably gonna, or haven't got the tools or the time, it's probably gonna cost you 2 hours of labour, I would say. That's probably how long it took me all in all. But the process is, jack the car up. You don't have to take off all what a lot of the garages have said to me before. Jack the car up, and I just took off, I think, 3 of the bolts for the heat shield and just prised that down. It is a bugger, I must admit, but it's 1 bolt to screw it in. I actually kept the previous plastic clip in there because it's like a square with 2 prongs. It's hard to show you, but I'll put a photo of the actual shape of it. I kept that in there, but just snapped the 2 prongs off basically, and then I put the metal plate on the top, and then just bolted that in by hand, and then obviously tightened it with the right wrench. And yeah, no more whirring or scraping noise. Permanent fix. So don't waste your time with the plastic one. Is my recommendation of that. It's more expensive. It's going to fail again. Yeah, and you're going to have to pay for labour again or waste your time doing it again. So I think that is all of my build for now. I have got, that was my last thing to work on, going back to BIMA code. So you may or may not have heard of BIMA code. BIMA code, for me, I use it, funny enough, for coding. So changing configurations like welcome lights when you unlock the car, how hot you want your heated seats or whatever, how bright you want your headlights to be. Believe it or not, you can change that. The main one for me was the stereo setting. So I've changed it, I think it's to F45, which is the same settings as in the M3 or M4, the F80 version. And it just sounds so much better. Whether that's a placebo effect because someone else told me, but for me it just felt overall much better, like crisper, a little bit more bassy, but not tinny. Yeah, and I did the welcome, the M logo animation, whatever you want to call it, on startup on the car, on the screen. But there's loads of things. You know, I've used it a lot on my dad's car. He's got a Z4. You can change the. You can now drive along with the roof up and down, and then closing it or opening it at a much faster speed, or at speed. I think you can only open and close it statically, pull over and all that lot. So if he gets caught out in the rain, he can drive it, I think it's up to 30 mile an hour, now close it and open it. So there's lots of things on that BIMA code. It's well worth it. It's like a one-off, I think it's a one-off fee. Again, you're going to need an OBD adapter, but well worth it, and that works with any BMW. So it's a sort of lifetime thing if you're going to be a BMW fanboy like me. But I think that's it. I've rambled on there. All the other stuff is standard really, so it's, you know, adaptive lights, pro nav standard, red leather inside. My plans for the future, so I've still got a lot planned. It's got an open diff. My last car had a Quaife, well, I fitted a Quaife diff. I think I would really like to get a M Performance diff this time round. They are quite pricey, but the way it snaps sometimes is just, yeah, it's unpredictable, sketchy as hell. Not that I push it hard, but even then, in this sort of weather now where it's raining a bit greasy, yeah, it's not ideal. Suspension, although the adaptive is better on low end springs than my old stock suspension, I want to go one more. I want to get some, again, I've done a lot of research on STX-A, which is not adaptive, so I'm going to need to get it coded out, the adaptive side of things, but heard really good things about that. It's part of the KW family. I think the only negative is that they corrode a little bit more, so again, I'm going to take preventative measures there. I'm going to ceramic coat them. I'm also going to put a clear built handbar protective wax over them, which I've done with my subframe already, and then some coilover socks as well. So yeah, STX-A's. I've got a camber kit on order, which I will update you with as soon as it's fitted and give you some sort of feedback on those. So that's all the, you know, rear toe arms, camber arms, and I'm going to go for solid control bushes at the front, control arm bushes at the front, so that when you're braking hard and that, there's no movement. It's a bit more, and I think the turn-in is going to be better from what I hear, a little bit sharper. What else? So yeah, suspension. This has already got Powerflex black bushes, not bushes, the subframe bush insert, not the full bushes, and that's plenty enough for me. Very, very good. Really did transform the handling. I did that with my previous car as well. I'd recommend those. You can go one step further if you're tracking it and get millway bushes, but it's overkill for me. I'd love to go, I've never done it, I'd love to go hybrid turbo next. I'm doing some research currently on what's sort of the best route for me. There's lots, you know, Door are a fantastic company these days. Pure turbos, the 800, 850, are massive in the M140 community. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not going to go big frame turbo because that then means I need to forge engines and change my gearbox, and I haven't got the funds for that, and I don't think I need that. I think on the roads, you at 550. I mean, some would say that stage 2 plus is the sweet spot, but I think 550 on pump fuel, so you're not messing around with port injection, meth, any of that. You're not forging engines, you're not changing gearboxes out, strengthening those. So this is where my phone decided to die, so apologies for that. I forgot to mention I've ordered uprated anti-roll bars for the front and rear, and camber plates to go on top of the mounts, the STX-A mounts. So hopefully this will get the car in a place where it's capable to take on track if I choose to. So yeah, that sort of concludes the video. If you enjoyed the video, please like and hopefully subscribe and maybe share. And I'll see you in the next one with some modifications and a review on them. Cheers.